Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. The subject of the discourse today is the prerequisite for successful practice of meditation. To be successful in one's efforts in the practice of meditation, one has to fulfill certain requirements. And these are essential rules of conduct, and they must be understood properly to be able to meditate very successfully and for one's own spiritual benefit and for others' good. Now, what are these prerequisites of successful practice of meditation? Every game has ground rules. Without following the ground rules, you just can't have a good game, whether it's hockey or football or cricket or whatever it is. For a game to be a game, and to be successful and to enjoy it, one has to follow certain ground rules. The same principle applies to spiritual life. Spiritual life is not just an haphazard, kind of life that one takes up. It's a very methodical practice. It is based upon certain spiritual laws and rules of conduct. So, having that in mind, if we proceed with our spiritual efforts, whatever spiritual life we are trying to live, and we want to get some benefit out of it here and now, then follow the rules of virtuous conduct, Shila. Now, last time I mentioned a little bit about that. We spoke about contemplation on feelings. Feeling contemplation, Vedana Anusati, is a very, very skillful practice of meditation. And it requires very distinct discipline of conduct to be successful. Because the feelings ultimately are the source, they are the precursor for karma formations. A karma is committed, good or bad, and thereby one's destiny is created based upon feeling. So if we understand feeling, the importance of feeling, and then know how to moderate our feelings, how to bring about the element of restraint over feelings, it is only then when we know this, understand this, and practice feeling in a very skillful way, it is only then that spiritually we can be very successful in all our efforts. And whatever karma we commit, good or bad, those become very fruitful spiritually. So one should understand the importance of feelings, because it is through feeling that one commits a karma. And it is because of karma that one is again and again reborn, punarjanma. So in this wheel of life, or samsara, the most important thing that we have to understand is how we get involved in all kinds of karmas, karma formations, and then create our own destiny, and then to hide our own, weaknesses from ourselves. We try to create all kinds of theories that somebody else will save us. Some supernatural power will come to our aid, and that will somehow or other will get out of it and all that sort of thing. No, it doesn't work that way at all. Spiritual life requires definite discipline based upon laws. A law is a law because it is autonomous. It works on its own. It doesn't depend upon anyone. It doesn't allow anyone to interfere with its course, nor does it work in an arbitrary way. So, spiritual laws are very definite laws. Law of karma and punarjanma is one such. Therefore, to be successful in one's spiritual practices, particularly meditative practices, it is very essential that we understand what we are practicing and why we are practicing, and what are the factors required to be successful in our practice. Just going and sitting down and close the eye and fake that you are meditating, it doesn't work. It doesn't help us at all spiritually. Showmanship is not what is required. Strict and sincere practice based upon knowledge and wisdom. So here, the importance of Vedana. Vedana is it is a faculty, indriya, and it grows on indriya. You see, a feeling arises in our sense faculties, eye, ear, nose, tongue, etc., and mind. Now these 6 faculties, that is where the feelings arise. So they have a double importance. First of all, they are indriyas, that is to say, they are controlling faculties. They control the karmic process. And because they have that karmic controlling power over our actions and therefore our destinies, we have to take them very, very seriously indeed. And merely, mechanically saying, oh, this is good feeling, that bad feeling, this painful feeling, this agreeable feeling, and all that sort of thing, doing some kind of a drill, mental drill in the form of meditation, it will not work. It has to be workable and to be meaningful, we have to understand it and apply it in the proper way and get the very best result indeed. So now, while practicing this Vedana-nupassana, how step by step it leads to karmic formation should be understood. So it is said, yang vedeti tang sanjanati. Whatever one experiences, vedeti, or feels, or some sensation, whatever sensation one experiences, whatever feeling one experiences, yang kinchi vedeti, tang sanjanati. Based upon that, now one perceives that, one knows it, one has a notion about it and one builds memory based upon that. So whatever feeling occurs and you do something because of the feeling, then you also immediately create, this memory factor comes in. Whenever you remember it or when you want to remember it, you remember what you have done, what you have said or what you have thought, influenced by feeling. Influenced by feeling, You have done something, you have said something, and you have thought something. These are all karma formations. 3 ways of committing a karma. Now, having done these karmas, there the thing does not end. The mind has a tendency to recall them, to remember them. And that is memory. And that is called sanjanati. So now, whatever you feel and then trigger and karma formation as a result, that you pick up again in the form of memory. Now if you have committed, let us say you talk to somebody and then you get into an argument, and an argument leads to bad feelings and so forth. It goes on. So a mere argument, if I say based upon a feeling, leads to a bad karma or the opposite, or a good karma, and you recall that. And every time you recall, every time you are committing the same karma. So repetition of karma, it is reduplication of the karmic process, creates a very powerful, it has a powerful role in forming our destiny. That is why they are called indriyas, controlling faculties. Feelings control our karmic process, and the karmic process controls our destiny in future. It's as simple as that, and therefore very deep and profound. We should take these things very, very seriously. So now, if you want to be really successful in having a control over your destiny, at least by having a control over what you do, say or think, then you have to, get into a discipline, a mode of training. Discipline is nothing but a mode of training. A mode of training whereby you begin to moderate your feelings and regulate them in a way that they become harmless. They don't become harmful. So to be able to do that successfully, you have got to do something else. And that something else is acquire that moral force, which is also an indriya. That moral force in the form of virtuous conduct. Now virtuous conduct, Shila, is absolutely necessary to be successful in training, in spiritual training or training the mind in a certain way. So, to illustrate how important Shila is in one's spiritual life and in one's destiny and in creating a destiny. Last time I did mention about the Jataka known as Maha Dhammapala Jataka, which Bhagavan Buddha related to the king Suddhodana when he visited for the first time Kapilavattu. So the king had invited the Buddha and 20,000 arhats who had accompanied the master. These arhats, 10,000 of them belonging to Magadha and 10,000 actually from Kapilavattu itself. They were Sakyans. The king had sent parties of 1,000 people, all councillors, headed by a minister. So they went to invite the Buddha and saying, please come, your father is very unhappy, this thing, that thing, and so forth. So when they went to meet the Buddha in Rajagaha, all the way down from Kapilavattu, now they heard the discourse and they became spiritually transformed. And they took to spiritual life, they became bhikkhus, and they completely forgot about the whole story, whole mission of inviting the Buddha. This happened 10 times. That is how 10,000 Sakyans were all become arhats. They were there, and 10,000 from Magadha and Anga and other countries. 20,000 of them accompanied the master. They had gone on foot, walked for 2 months. They arrived at Kapilavatthu. They were very warmly welcomed and accommodated in the vana, in the grove, you see, of Nigrodha, the prince. And that is how they were there. Then the Sakyans didn't show their proper respect. So Buddha had to, tame them by performing certain very, very skillful and very subtle spiritual, the supernormal acts, you see. And they were so profoundly moved thereafter. Their argument was, oh, Siddhartha, he is younger to me in my age, how can I go and do namaste to him? That is how they thought. So they had to be tamed, and which the Bhagavan did most wonderfully indeed, leading to the king himself fell at his feet. So when the king did the Vandana, he worshipped, the whole lot of them did that. So then they were invited. The king had invited the Bhagavan for alms food. So that is how the Buddha had gone with these arhats, and they were seated in the palace in a huge alms meal performance and ceremony rather. So there the king offered the dana with all, great veneration and devout feelings. He offered, and after the Bhagavan had taken the meals and all the arhats, they had washed their hands, and then the Bhagavan, invariably the Buddha gave a discourse after receiving an alms meal, a bhiksha. So the Buddha gave a discourse, and they were so very inspired indeed, the whole entire royal family and thousands of relatives had also come there. So this is a very poignant and very, atmosphere of great devotion and wonderful atmosphere, spiritual atmosphere indeed. There the king, after hearing the Dhamma, he said, Bhante, most venerable sir, I have something coming in my mind and I would like to share with you. He said, oh yes, Maharaja, please do, great king, please do, tell us. Then he said, one day, suddenly, where they were seated, right there, a deva came hovering and he just stood suspended in the air, right in the middle of the hall, and said, King Suddhodana, I have a message. With all very dramatic way, this celestial being, he said, your son Siddhartha, practicing most fierce type of self-mortification in the name of penance, and he became just like a skeleton, totally exhausted and totally this, and he has now died. In a very dramatic fashion, this Deva said this. He belonged to the retinue of the Maha, so he had to do this kind of thing to sort of create confusion and dukkha in the mind of the king. So now the king said, look, I don't believe you one bit. My son can never die until he has climbed on the summit state of spiritual perfection and he has become a Buddha. Until then he can never die. I don't trust you. As soon as the king said this with all his own drama, in a dramatic fashion, that little creature just vanished. He disappeared forthwith. So when the king said this, the Buddha said, well, great king, did you believe him? He said, no, how can I believe him? I did not believe. I knew I was getting information from my security officers that you are going through tremendous suffering in the form of the self-mortification, but you didn't budge. And you did conquer. You did have victory over Mara. Victory over your own inward Mara of Klesha, mental defilements. Then the external Maras too. So that is how I had full information and I was fully convinced. So I didn't. Then the Buddha said, do you know Maharaja? This is not the first time you have done this. No? Have I not done this for the first time? He said, no. You have done it before. How come? The king was surprised. And then he says, will you please reveal, Venerable Sir, how it happened? Then Bhagavan said, all right, please listen, I will tell you the entire episode that occurred. So he says, at that time you are born in long in the dim past when I was practicing as a Bodhisattva. That is an enlightened being and would-be Buddha who is perfecting himself, training himself to become a Buddha. Long in the dim past, you were born near Varanasi, very in the vicinity of Varanasi. That whole area belonged to you. You are a very big Jamindar or something like a small Chota Raja, and a very powerful Brahmin teacher, as well as one of those Jamindar, landlord type. Some kind of a small principality you had, and you are very highly respected. People gave you the name Dhammapala, one who protects the Dhamma, and therefore is protected by the Dhamma. So you got this title and that became your name. And your family was very highly respected and you practiced charity in a very wonderful way, in a big, big way. So now, at that time, Bodhisattva was born in your family as your son, and he became known as Chula Dhammapala. Dhammapala the junior. And people called you Maha Dhammapala. Dhammapala the senior, Dhammapala the junior. So that is how it happened. Then, sir, what happened? He gave the whole story. This boy came up, he was a brilliant boy, very, very lovable and very beautiful, extremely intelligent. So he was sent to the highest seat of learning those days in a place called Takshashila. Even today it is there in Pakistan. Of course it is in the form of ruins now. A great seat of learning with a large number of professors who are very, very learned. They are masters in their own subjects. and they attracted students from all over the subcontinent of Bharata, of India. And so it was a great, very famous seat of learning in the University of Takshashila. This boy at the age of 16 was sent there. So there you became a very popular student and a very brilliant student. Your teachers loved you and very popular, and you became a leader of these students. Eventually you became the leader of 500 students of different faculties. And then you you completed the education and got high marks. And in terms of modern university practice, you got all the titles and all that sort of thing, all the degrees. So, then Dhammapala, he said, the teacher, so his teacher was very popular, and he had a son who was a co-student of Dhammapala and a very popular boy. One day, that boy suddenly died. A most, a very great pall of sorrow fell on the family, on the entire institution. The students began to cry, the family members, the teacher, everyone. Only Dhammapala did not cry. So, and that was noticed by everybody. Hey, how come you don't cry? When everybody is crying? He says, what is the use of crying? Anicca, the law of impermanence. Your son has become a victim of that. So mere crying will not help. Something else will have to be done so that his future is assured. He is born in a better place. And he may not have to suffer once again this kind of short life. It is based upon some law, he said. He said, oh, very big talker you are. Cry, he said. No, I won't cry. So the other boys, this is how the game went on. But after a time, of course, it settled down. Then there was a ceremony, some kind of Shraddha ceremony. And there the students had to talk about the departed friend, colleague, how he was, and that was the practice those days. So many students got up and they praised him to the sky, and he has passed away, everybody is very suffering, and etc., etc. Dhammapala, not a word. He just kept quiet. So the other said, hey, why did you say? He said, what to say? He has succumbed to the law of karma. He said, look here, all these are all in the book, you better tell something. He said, no book, it's real. That is how an argument went over, and then he says, he need not have died. Death for an old man, yes, it's natural. We can accept it, the society accepts it. But for a little boy of that size, 16, 17, and suddenly dying, most unnatural death, accidental death, that need not have happened. Then why did it happen? It has happened because again he has gone against the law of morality. He must have committed a karma, and that has rebounded on him in the form of early death. That's all. So mere crying won't do. We must do something for him so that his future is on the right course, in a better course. That is how the argument and all that sort of thing. The teacher also heard everything, and he said, hey, what do you mean by all this? He said, yes, sir, he did not have died. You see, so young. So then one boy said, you mean to say nobody died in your family? In young age? He says, yes. Nobody has ever died in my family. In 7 generations. Very dramatically he announced. Now the teacher got very intrigued. He said, how come? In 7 generations nobody has died in the family young. There must be something in it. So he asked about Dhammapala again. He got all the details, said, yes sir, I am telling the truth. He says, all right, very good. Then he said he took leave of the university, and he took a boy, a servant boy with him, and took the address of his father and went all the way east from west, in Pakistan, that is Takshashila, from there down to Banaras, walking, or those days they had some transportation, this what you call the relay, horse, ratha, they could pay and they could go. So that is how he went there. And when he arrived at this, it was not a village, it was really a semi-town type of place, and they had the biggest house and very well to do and all that sort of thing. So everybody knew, and they led him there. So he, when his father saw him coming from far, he sent a servant, he says, go on, take his shoe, all this, to carry his things and show him and bring him here with all respect. So when he was brought at home, he showed him great respect, and he welcomed him with open hand and gave him a very nice room to stay. And then, Atithya, the hospital, all kinds of rules of hospitality those days, all that he did it. And after he had rested a little and he had his warm meal, after that they sat down in the family quadrangle. There, all the family, wife, other members, they're all there. So there he said, sir, he wanted to surprise the family. That was his modus operandi. That is how he wanted to trick them and find out their reaction. He said, well, I have come all the way down from Takshashila just to carry this very sad news. Your son, Chula Dhammapala, is dead. Then this father just jumped up and started clapping and loudly laughing, and he broke into huge laughter, and looking at him like that, the others in the family did the same thing. So this man got very, very intrigued. He said, how come? I have given him an information which should make him cry. Instead of that, he now jumps up and claps and dances in joy. What is all this? Then he says, you don't believe me, huh? He says, no. That's a hoax. So, he very dramatically brought out from a little bag a piece of bone and said, here you are, I brought this bone to prove. I knew that you can be skeptical, so I did this. And the father again, when that was done, the father again jumped up and started clapping and laughing. So this time he said, what? Why are you doing this? He says, in this family, in a very dramatic way he now told, in this family for 7 generations, nobody has died young. Then the teacher fell at his feet and said, "Sir, I played a hoax, please forgive me," and told the entire story, what happened to his son and how Dhammapala reacted and all that sort of thing. Then he broke into a poetry. He was a very learned professor. And he says, "Please do tell me, what kind of precept, what kind of rule of discipline, rule of moral and spiritual discipline that your family practices leading to this kind of achievement. It's incredible, fantastic that nobody has died in 7 generations. So please, sir, be my teacher and give me that code of conduct, and I will note down and carry it to the university, the same message, so that many, many more families will benefit, sir." So the father gave in 9 gatha, absolutely inspiring gatha indeed in Pali. It's such an inspiring poetry, piece of literature. It's unthinkably beautiful in its cadence and in its formation in every way. So he spoke all this. Now that moved the professor so much, he wrote down the whole thing. And he again touched his feet, says, "You are my elder brother. Now I know why your son is so wise and is so firm. He is a great man." So he stayed with him for some days, etc. And then he had a nice time, and thereafter he took down everything, the 7 generation, how they practice. He says, "Look here, 10 things I practice. I will just tell you in brief because the time is short." He says, "I follow these 3 types of bodily actions. Kaya karma, 4 types of vachi karma, verbal actions, volitional actions, and 3 types of mental action, mano karma. Altogether 10. They are known as kamma patha. A course of action that creates a destiny here and now, which can be proved from generation to generation. Its validity can be proved when practiced." So this family, the landlord rich family, they have adopted that, and they did that from the last 7 generations. They kept a record. They kept a record of the whole thing, and nobody died for 7 generations in a young age. And very prosperous family. He says, "Look here, number 1, we practice non-violence. We don't kill any creature, not even by joke or pull, or even a mosquito bite. We don't slap the mosquito. We just do like that, and we drive it out that way, but never kill. But protect life, promote the well-being of life in 100 different ways. So we never die also young. Then, second, we don't take anything that is not given to us. We don't steal anything. No misappropriation, no corruption. But practice dana. We practice charity. This high road next to my village, all those who go all the travelers who walk on the highway, all the poor people who are around in this village and everywhere, whoever, needs a meal, they are welcome from morning till afternoon, late noon. The feeding program goes on and on and on and on. Poor people, monks, travelers, all. they are not only fed well, but with great respect they are offered the meal. Their feet are washed by the workers of the family, and so on. And then we commit, strictly speaking, we follow Brahmacharya. Only with our own wives and husbands we have the family life. With others we maintain Brahmacharya. We are pure, we maintain pure thought, pure action, pure everything with reference to other women or men. So Kameshu Vichachara we completely we have given up. Nobody has ever practiced this. So the family has maintained good health, purity of conduct, and highly revered, etc. Then the 4 types of speech, we don't tell lie, but we strictly follow truthfulness. We don't carry tales from this one man's story to the other man and backbite and carry tales of, from create problem, tell this man's problem to somebody else and somebody to this man and create discord and suffering like that. Never do that. We create concord wherever possible. We tell the good things, unite people rather than disunite. Then we don't use abusive language. We use sweet and good, meaningful Dhamma talks. And we don't gossip. So this way, 4 types of things we follow very strictly. Even the servants in the family, they do that. And then we do manokamma 3 types. We don't indulge in this greed, vishamalobha, seeking this, seeking that, wanting this, wanting that, accumulating this, accumulating that all the time. That is the way of the world. We have given up that. We have renounced that. We don't seek anything. We don't greedily run after things or accumulate things. No. What we have, santosa. We are contented with what we have. We don't seek any more. And this is how we practice our manokamma. And then we don't hate anybody. We don't show temper or anger and all this. No, we control ourselves. And we follow the dharma. We follow the right views on things about the supremacy of good over evil. We believe in the efficacy of karma, volitional action, and how action can create our destiny. So all this is the way we have been practicing from generation to generation. And nobody has ever suffered untimely death because of this. So when this professor heard this and wrote down everything, he literally started crying. He says, what a wonderful thing. Not only you create a destiny for yourself individually, a whole family's destiny is created. A whole family, generation after generation, doesn't suffer from all this. So, destiny not only at the individual level, but even at the family level or social level, in a collective level, is created by men with their men and women with the way they live, the way they act, the way they conduct themselves. A nation, literally you can build a new destiny for a whole nation. So it is said when Yuan Zhang and visited China, visited India from China in the 5th century AD, he was simply fascinated, and he just couldn't explain. He says, I haven't seen any house locked in a Buddhist village. He has been visiting all these various Buddhist places and Buddhist villages and all that sort of thing, where the entire community follows the Dhamma in a very, very serious way. So, he says, no, in China we lock up our temples, he said. We lock up everybody and everything. Here you are not a house locked. There will be no stealing, no cheating, trustfulness. That is, people seriously practice the Panchashila. So it moved him so much. He wrote a whole lot of books on this, about India, and travelled 10 years from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. He tramped about all over India, from north to south, from east to west, 10 years, and carried a huge lot of books, manuscripts from India to China, which were later on translated there, and that is how Buddhism went to China. So a whole nation can be created just by appropriate mode of living. Now in America I used to hear, oh, you can get away, if you can get away, do anything you like, don't worry. Forget about this so-called ethics and morality and all that. You can punch somebody and get away if you have strength. You can steal and get away if you have the ways and means of getting away. You can do anything. And do any evil act, you can have any number of women or men in your lives if you can get away. So the covenant is, if you can get away. What a foul philosophy of life. What a distorted vision of life. And that is supposed to be a very, very highly organized and scientifically developed and economy and whatnot. That is no wonder that in America people don't trust at all each other. They all lock themselves up in their own little homes, and that is their fort. Each home is a fort. That's what they think. So in the last analysis, my dears, we are the captains of our destiny. We make ourselves what we are. Today what we are is because how we behaved in the past, how we acted in the past, how we lived in the past. That's all. So no use finding fault with anybody, any God or any this thing, destiny and whatnot. No. You are the creator of your own life. Now this wholesome teaching of Bhagavan Buddha, if people were to take it seriously in the form of practicing Panchashila, not much, just 5 Shilas, 5 code of conduct, virtuous conduct, that can create a wonderful society indeed. Wonderful security. Now these highly developed, militarily powerful countries have no security at all. Nobody is secure. After 5:30 in the evening in New York, no woman is safe. And that is one of the biggest cities in the world. So there you are. See, spiritual life based on spiritual laws, if appropriately lived, this very earth can become heaven. That is the fact. With this I conclude. May the grace of Bhagavan Buddha surround your lives with wisdom. May you all be happy and well.